Our destination?
Birthday reflections.
Let's go for a ride.
Welcome to Girls Trip. If you were with us yesterday, you know that this week is all about Rebecca because it's her birthday week.
I like that R. Yes.
Being spicy today.
Yes.
So today we are getting a little introspective. Remind everyone how old you've just turned.
I have turned 33.
33.
33.
Welcome.
I know. It's like we're here for a little bit.
It's a great year. Because back in January last month, we talked a lot about, how good it is to reflect and to celebrate maybe milestones that you've reached throughout the year, but how we don't ever really do that. It's just like
Take
a
the
thing
time to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
that we say like, yeah, that would be really good. And then by the time you get all the way to the end of the year, that feels so overwhelming
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
because you haven't, done it little by little. So we decided that now would be a great time to do that.
Great
So we
time.
can
Totally.
learn a little more about you and give you a chance to reflect as you go into this next
Which
year.
is definitely a challenge for me because I am not very introspective. Like, it takes a lot. Like, I was like, okay, let me just think about some of these like thoughts and what I've done this year. And it's not easy for some reason. Like, I feel like day to day in the moment, that some things stay with me, but I have to really, really think about it. So it's good because I feel like it's a challenge for me. And
So we're making her dig
remember
deep.
things. Yes,
Dig
they
deep.
are.
Grilling you
They really are.
today. Okay. So the first question, and these are just fun questions, I think, to talk about in general. Like if you're having a girls' night, these are some good questions to discuss. But what has been a recent moment of joy or laughter that you'll remember?
All right. So
You can't list every moment you've been with us, but
like, there are so many right now. But honestly, I feel like the most recent, besides being on this wonderful journey with you guys, the amount of laughs that we have had has been crazy. But I have two nieces that were born last year. So I've been soaking up, once again, the auntie mode because it's been a little bit because my oldest niece now is almost going to be 10, I think, this year. Yeah. So it's been a little gap between having like another little one. So I've been really enjoying all of the videos, the photos, and I'm like, I just want to squish your face. And then occasionally I will FaceTime, the Android version of FaceTiming, and just have like, raspberry talks with my niece as we're blowing bubbles or whatever it is. So that's really been, I think, something that I really look forward to and just sharing those moments with my family and stuff like that. So it's super corny, but it's
so
like,
sweet.
I mean, there's too many to count.
Being an aunt is the best.
pudgy little rolls.
I
They bring a
know.
lot of joy.
So many rolls.
I know.
They
So,
really do. And,
so many roles.
and we tend to get the pictures passed along to us.
100%.
So
I'm like,
all the
guys,
time.
look how
That's
cute
joy.
they are. Ours is adorable. So that's been, I think, a very fulfilling.
I definitely feel like I'm part of your family.
they
Your
don't
family
know it.
definitely doesn't feel like I'm part of their family, but I
we
feel like
feel
I'm part
you,
of the family.
you go up to them and you're like, so I
Yes.
saw yesterday.
Oh yeah, they're like
She had a really cute outfit on.
Like okay, yeah.
Slightly stalkerish, but it's
Yeah.
totally fine.
So it's been like
It's totally
that's been so
fine.
exciting.
I love that.
Fun venture.
Question 2: what's one thing you wish you had more time for?
All right, so this is corny again, but I want to say I wrote or thought about was like adventures. So and it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but it can be like a day thing, or an adventure to me sometimes is something that's just unknown or not created and planned out. Like if you were here yesterday, I got that wild card that was like drive with no destination. So those moments are very exciting for me. And obviously we can't do that every single day because we have to work and it seems maybe unfulfilling for some people because you're not necessarily like planning to accomplish something, but it's just that whole journey and that time, like, I don't know, like let's go today shopping at Target and it wasn't planned. That's exciting and fun to me because I'm just like, yeah, I'd love to do that. That's like the really, I guess, adventurous one. And then the other one is, again, a little sentimental. I wish that I could throw more parties for people.
That tracks.
That's so Rebecca.
I wish that I, like, every holiday, every event could like just have this like party room where I could just be like, guys, just show up at 3:00. Not telling you any more information. Like that's a dream of mine in the future. But like though making people smile, I think is what I wish I had more time for. Is like showing them or whoever like how much they mean to me. And I don't always get to do that. So I try on those like birthdays, like to really make it important to like my husband, friends, family, that, you know, they mean something to me. So this is going to get, you might want to grab a tissue. I don't know. Like,
You are the hostess,
really down.
hostess with the mostest.
Yeah, I feel like that's.
My mom and I were just talking about that the other day, how much we love hosting and throwing parties. So if anyone wants to just like donate an event space,
yes.
that's what we're like. That's what we need.
We really
if
need
we
it.
just
It's
had
just a
a
space.
space to do it, we'd be doing it all the time. But I love that.
Yeah.
Now, as far as your adventures, do you
Yes.
feel like you don't have the time that you would want for them, or do you feel like you have time but that you're not either being intentional with or not pushing yourself to do that? Because you also are a
Yeah.
very like cozy,
Mm,
let's
yes.
like stay home and watch a movie tonight
100%.
type
I like
thing.
that
So do you feel like it's more like, oh, if I just need more time, or I have the time but I'm not doing that?
I think it's a little bit more intentional. And for me, sometimes intentional in my brain is like, well, now it's not spontaneous. And it's like, no, there needs to be a balance of the two because, maybe I'll stumble upon like a Saturday and because I don't plan anything, I wake up and I'm like, oh, if I had just thought this through a little bit more, I could have done X, Y, and Z.
Right,
Or I could have
right,
made the
right.
most of the day. And I think that's where I slip up. Or I could have, reached out to so-and-so and seen what their weekend was. And maybe we could have figured something out. So I think that I can get so day to day that I'm not quite planning and I could have been more useful with my time. So I think it's a little bit of that because I have flexibility, I think.
Yeah.
To do that certain weekends, even during the week, sometimes my evenings are a little bit more open. So, I think it could be a little bit more intentional with my time.
But you also like to be surprised, so maybe that's a challenge.
I think that's my balance is like, let's figure out what can I do.
for us this year to just steal Rebecca away. And be like, we're going to do
Blindfolding
this.
you.
Yeah, that's definitely
We
a good
literally
birthday
could
gift
be
too.
like, we're going to get Wendy's, but I have no idea where we're going.
Right.
I'm like, this is so fun, guys. Where are we going?
You are. You do. Well, you find joy in the smallest things or the
Yeah.
biggest things.
Yeah.
So easily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
I like doing fun, spontaneous things, but I don't necessarily want to be surprised by them. Like if it's like, oh, we're just home right now, like let's go do something,
Yeah.
like that's fine. But then, when my husband surprises me, I'm just like, are you sure? Can I can I see the plan? Like
what is
where exactly are
executed
we
here?
going and have you done your research? And so I make it a little difficult.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you won't ask questions, so that's great.
Yeah, I won't.
Okay. How do you want to feel at the end of the next year? And what do you think you can do now to work towards that? That's a hard one.
yeah.
Yes.
That's hard.
I feel like right now, I want to have true contentment with where I'm at. So I think, and Joy, you probably can attest to this with trying to move and find a house. Like there's so many big, I feel like milestones that we're trying to hit. And it's been a very, long journey and just different than what I'm used to. And I think every month or every day, I'm trying to be like, this is where I'm supposed to be. We're not in a rush. Like we're doing fine. And you tell yourself that, but then you're, just in your brain going over like, well, so-and-so's doing this and da-da-da-da-da. And I have to kind of remind myself, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. The rest is in God's hands, like, and whatever happens, happens. So
Right.
I think that I would love to have just that, like, peace. I feel like I am at peace, but it's just like, I'm content. I don't need anything. I know whatever I have right now, like, is what I need.
Yeah.
So, and it's not easy because I tell myself, I'm like, I really feel like I am content. Like, I don't need, and like, I'll have discussions with, already my husband, and he'll be talking about like houses that we want. And I'm like, wow, like he's shooting for the stars and that's great. And I love that. And then I think about like, well, if I start going there, then we're both going to be wanting that and not feel happy where we are. So I feel like sometimes I'm trying to like even that out for us. So we're both not unhappy with where we are,
Yeah.
but I think that's a goal for both of us, and
It's a great
specifically
goal.
myself. Yeah,
It's
just
a
to
great
be
goal.
where we're at, content.
And I don't know if contentment is necessarily this thing that you achieve or unlock versus more like a muscle that you're constantly
Yes,
having
you have to exercise it.
to exercise, and the more
a
that you
choice.
exercise, yeah,
It's a choice. Yeah.
Because I think no matter what stage of life you're in, some stages, sure, I think are going to be easier to feel that contentment, but I think there's always going to be something that's challenging your contentment.
Yeah.
And pushing you, and that you're always going to have to come back to, like, you know, okay, but I am grateful and I do feel content. And so even if you're having to like bring yourself back to that place, I don't know if that means that you're not like practicing contentment. I think that you are.
No, you are. I
And
agree.
I feel like you're always being so mindful of that.
Yeah, it's like, you would know this is like owning a house. There's always something you could be working on. Like, so I feel like that's this. It's like you have this, you have contentment, you have peace or whatever, but you constantly have to like just come back to be like, whoa, what's going on? How am I thinking? What am I doing to get there? Or you have to just exercise it like a muscle. I totally think that's true.
Bringing our belief system into this a little bit. There is a verse that says, I have learned to be content in every situation, which I think implies that it isn't just something like, oh, I'm turning the page on this now, and now I'm just going to be like, it is. One of you said practice, like you have to practice at anything else that you would have to learn how to do. If you have to learn how to read, you have to learn how to be content, and that could take some time. So I just think it's such a good goal.
And
I definitely resonate with that.
Those situations, you're not really practicing that. Like as a kid, you're not really like needing to do that necessarily in the ways you have to do as an adult. So I think that these past couple of years have been the first time where I really have had to be like, whoa, like, I am not getting, or I'm not seeing things that I want to see, or I'm not getting what I want to see right away. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just new. So it's like, all right, we have to work with this. We have to figure out, we have to
Great goal.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Love
that's
it.
great. Love it.
Next question. If you could I love this one. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Always carry water with you.
Always. I feel like I am the worst person at giving advice. So when I was like looking at this question, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what the heck would I say to myself? Because I feel like I am still that person, like obviously matured in certain areas, but I'm like, I still feel like if I told myself, it'd be as if I'm looking in the mirror, I'm like, we're the same age. What would I be telling you? Like, I don't know. We're both in the same boat right now. Like, so, and this is stuck with me since a kid, and it'll kind of go off of that. But I always remember as I want to say child, if you're going to do it and you're scared, do it afraid. And I think that still is with me even now. So I think it would just be something that I would remind myself, be like, and I know I did things like in college, in high school, where I was not confident necessarily, but I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna go for it. And I think that that's still something that I tell myself every day now. So even though I knew it as a kid, I think it would just be something I want to remind myself. It's like, no matter what the situation is, you know, you're confident in yourself. And I know I was a confident person, but there were still things that I was very insecure about. Yeah. But I was like, it's okay. Fake it not fake it till you make it. But like, I believe that I could do it, but just, I didn't have that overall like confidence, I guess. So I just had to practice, and another thing that just took time. Yeah. But I think that's something that I would still say to myself. So no matter what, do it afraid. Just do it. Get married, do it afraid. Just kidding. Yeah. Get married during COVID. Just do it. Just do it. But yeah, silly things like that. And it's not profound necessarily. It's just a small line. And I think I, as a kid, struggled with being afraid at times. Like, you know, sleep, something like that. So that stuck with me for a very long time. And so I'm saying that to myself right now. Do things afraid. Do things that you're scared of right now. So yeah, simple, short, and sweet.
I like that. I like that. Okay. What has been most surprising about your 30s so far?
Okay, to get very literal here, I did not think that I would ever wake up and have just a problem in my neck. Like I was like, I'm physically fit.
Yep.
I've been active my whole life, and I never thought that I would need my pillow. So those are the two things that just shocked me, that I've already been like sleeping at a hotel. I'm bringing my pillow. Like going to someone's house, I am bringing my pillow, because it just makes
all the difference.
All the difference, because you wake up and you're like, what the heck? And then that leads to like, well, now I can't move my neck. So that was one thing that just shocked me.
Coming from someone who's probably slept in a lot of places.
On the floor,
Yeah.
On a couch, anywhere. Like I could fall asleep pretty much anywhere. On an airplane, not so much. But yeah, I was just shocked at how much that impacts like my body now. And then so that's like body wise. The other thing, I see myself still like, I'm an adult. I know that. But like, we still have that fun childlike, joy here. So looking at kids now in high school and college, I'm like, you're a baby.
Yeah, you're a baby.
I'm like, you are a baby. But I see myself almost like them still. I'm like, we're at the same, but I'm like, you talk different than me. Your head is not screwed on straight. Like, what are we talking about? I was like, okay, questionable things. So it's weird.
When we watch like episodes from past weeks,
Yes.
and we're talking about the younger generation, I'm like, oh God, why did we say it that way? Like we sound like 65-year-old grandmas. Is so funny.
And so, but I'm like, but I feel like you still. Like I still feel like I could act like I could make weird decisions too, but my body's telling me I'm older, number one.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh no. It's like when older people are like, oh, you're so like, oh, you have a lot to learn. I'm like, they really have a lot to learn. Like I am now wise and old.
Yeah.
So I did not expect to
funny.
feel like that.
That's
but
funny.
looking now at those high schoolers,
I feel
like,
the same way, because part of me wants to be like, I want to talk to a college kid and be like, I was just there. And then I'm like, actually, I wasn't just there.
Right?
So like part of me feels like I was just there, but then I look at them and I'm like, yeah, we are at such different phases of life and on different pages. And it's a really weird.
Yeah, it's so strange to just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh,
Yeah.
The 30s, man.
30s, so new, so fun.
What's one thing you've learned about yourself recently?
Okay. So once again, very challenging for some reason to look back on this. I would say, and we've kind of discussed this a little bit, I am still struggling to communicate my word, like what I'm thinking in here, to get out verbally. And I knew that I struggled with that, but specifically with certain emotions. Like I don't like being in arguments. I will argue, but I don't want to start them. So I find it really hard to get that type of frustration to be communicated, and I just like shut down. And this has kind of been an ongoing thing, but I've just really feel like recently I'm like, oh, it's that specific feeling that I really can't communicate. So we're getting Myers-Briggs here into that.
Oh, I'm about to diagnose this, so don't worry.
So I'm like, what about it is it like, is that emotion that I really can't, like, I get it out in my body, but I can't verbalize it. Like if Artie and I are talking, I'm like, I don't know why I can't tell you why I'm frustrated or upset, but I know I am, but I can't pinpoint what it is. I can tell you why I'm sad, why I'm happy, but frustrated is a really hard thing to communicate. So we're working on that. Yeah.
I also feel like, and this is why I like having conversations like this with friends that are very close to you, because I do find that because you said two things today that I've heard you say many times. And sometimes we tell ourselves things because we've either had an experience that affirms that to us, or we felt like that's always a weak point. But we do grow and mature, and we don't always give ourselves the credit for that. So, I mean, to be fair, we're not usually on the receiving end of Rebecca's frustration.
Or ever.
So we don't always see that, but I do feel like you have told yourself this narrative that you're not good at giving advice and that you are not good at communicating your feelings, and I have never felt that way.
Yeah.
In talking to you.
I have to agree with that.
I feel like you always have, helpful, insightful advice to give in whatever the situation
Mature
is.
advice.
Yeah, and thoughtful. Like, you don't just speak to just like say something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it feels like, okay, I'm going to really absorb that and take that in. And that you do communicate. Like, I think that you think when you talk, you're like, I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm like, you always make sense.
Right. Right.
in
Okay.
what you're saying. So that's not to say like, sure, maybe those are still areas of growth.
Yeah.
But I think maybe since the time that you started feeling that way about yourself, there has already been a lot of growth.
Yeah.
And so,
Thanks, guys.
give yourself some credit for that.
Give myself a hug.
Give yourself a hug.
Where's my pocket hug?
Where's your pocket hug? Get it out.
I need it now.
Pull that one out.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you define success right now, and has that definition changed over time?
So I would say I used to think of success, so it has changed, first of all. I think growing up, you see it as like hitting these milestones, like graduating high school, going to college, figuring out what degree you want, and then getting married. And so hitting all of those marks, that's great. And I think now, though, it's kind of going back to the contentment. Success to me is not necessarily achieving now these huge goals. I think it's more monthly thing to daily to weekly. So I think it's more of going back to that of like, okay, how am I feeling today? Is this like where I thought I would be right now? And if not, like, how can I work towards that? So by the end of the month, I'm not X, Y, and Z or something like that. So I think it's a lot more about myself. Again, something that I feel like I don't normally think about, but I've done a lot more of that. And I feel like being in a relationship and marriage makes you do that, like right off the bat. Like, you just have to start looking at yourself and because you want to be the best that you can be to give to your, spouse. So I think that it's become much smaller, not necessarily like the significance is smaller, but it's just been not these huge milestones of like even buying a house now. I'm like, not necessarily like that would be great, but in my mind, I don't see that as like the success or something.
Right.
That word for some reason, like even growing up, I didn't like that word success. Like, it didn't make me feel good like it did for other people. I wanted, because I guess I saw that as, well, what if I don't get there?
Right. It's pressure.
Yeah. So I think I was like, we're not going to feel any pressure. So I won't even put that that word like in my vocabulary because I didn't want that. Because what if I didn't make it?
Yeah.
Which again is a whole nother topic. But I think now it's just a little different. And I see that as it's more, I want to grow towards something, and that's successful to me, not necessarily a tangible thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like that.
Getting very deep.
Yeah, so deep today. so deep and sappy.
I am so
Joy's like
I
thriving.
am so happy right now. Oh,
This fills Joy's cup.
I am so full. I'm overflowing right now.
And I am curious, and since we are like prioritizing these types of questions and conversations for ourselves this year, if, next year, if we return to something like this, will these questions feel easier to answer?
Yeah.
Will it
Not
be like,
take
oh
20
yeah,
minutes.
it has been on the back of my mind.
Not that I'm like so up on pop culture these days, but there is one thing that I look forward to every year for some reason. I don't even listen to her music, but Billie Eilish does this interview. I think it's with Vanity Fair every single year. Maybe not on the same day, but she's been doing it since she was 14, maybe and she's been doing it every year. So I have to go back and fact check me on this. I think maybe we're 7 or 8 years in now. But what they do is they ask her the exact same questions, and then they show
really
her
cool.
response throughout the years, and you've seen her grow as a person through it. But I love,
really cool.
I love, but she's so funny because she's so self-critical of herself from the year before, but then the next year she's so self-critical.
Right.
It's funny to see how much you don't really see changes sometimes month to month but from year to year, you really just grow so much.
Yeah.
So I would love to see us do something like that. Yeah.
And I wish I was more of the person who could commit to just doing that on my own in a journal.
Yeah.
But that's just not reality.
Yeah.
I just don't
Yeah.
make the time for it. But when I'm accountable to other people, it's like, okay, I am going to take the time to think about this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You'll have to stay tuned until next year, to find out.
Come back to these questions.
If these questions are a little bit, more top of mind for us or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one on my list. How do you stay motivated during difficult or busy times?
All right. So I try to keep these like pockets of sunshine. Yes, exactly. Or moments of joy, and I just run with them. So especially in like, whatever you're going through, ups and downs of life, depending on the week, how long they're lasting, months. If I have a moment where like I'm feeling good, I'm just going to do whatever I want in that moment to keep it going.
It's like your fuel.
And I'm just like, let's run with this today. Like maybe I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z because I'm feeling good today. And whatever, it could be I want to do an activity, or I'm like, I'm motivated and I'm going to clean this house today. Like it's little things like that. But I think we all have our ups and downs throughout the month. So in those moments when it's a surge of like that,
you capitalize on it.
I'm going to keep going with that.
Yeah,
I think
I resonate with that. Yeah.
It's very simple and it's not groundbreaking necessarily, but you often can get caught in like just this sadness or whatever defeat of like, oh, I'm still not seeing this again.
Yeah.
And I just have to remind myself like, nope, we're going to eventually get there, or, whatever it is.
I think once you become super self-aware of yourself and what you said, like throughout the month, you could be super low, super high. Hormones can play a huge role in that. When you know that you're in a good vein of feeling good, there is something to, I know this isn't going to last. Like, I just know it's not. Yeah. I know that in a week or two, I'm going to feel crappy. So this is a good time to do that thing.
Do whatever it is.
Yeah. No, that's so true.
Go for a drive now.
Yes,
or go. We both have some free time. Let's do something that's meaningful to both of us to make the most of our time.
No,
I think
so
for
good.
me, it's just become being more attuned to how I'm feeling, either like emotionally, physically. And we've talked about this, how like I am a very like planned person. So I typically go to bed knowing like this is what I want to achieve the next day. And I think, maybe 20s Lauren would have, no matter what, like I am getting that list done. But then I found there are some days where I'm less productive when I try to hold myself to those things, because that's just the reality, right? Some days it's like I'm not feeling in a creative flow. So like this project, I am just so stuck. Like I'm not getting anything done, and I could force myself to keep working on this, but then I might not get anything else done today. But I might be like, I feel motivated to clean the house. And so being able to make those pivots and give yourself grace with that and not be like, that wasn't on my list today. And even sometimes with rest, right? There are some nights where, because being able to unplug and rest and just like be present and whatever with my husband, watch something on TV is hard for me. And so sometimes if I'm feeling like, I know I was supposed to be really productive tonight, but I feel like I could like turn off and rest, like I should lean into that. I should do that and be okay with that.
That's good.
Yeah. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's that.
Aww. I feel like I know you so much.
Aww, so well. That's so deep.
All the
feels.
feels today. I love it.
I'm super excited for tomorrow.
Oh no.
Make sure you tune in. Hit that subscribe button on Rebecca's birth week. What a better time to do that than her birth week. So thank you for answering all those questions.
You're welcome.
More to come.
Yes.
More to come in the future. And for you out there, don't forget to enjoy the view wherever your ride may take you.